Hey guys, in today's video, I'm going to talk about the surprising thing that most people don't usually talk about on how to consistently create revenue and success inside your online business. Now, this is something I wish I would have understood a lot sooner. And honestly, even if you don't have an online business, this is a tip that can help you in almost any area of your life. And it's not a sexy topic. It's not a sexy idea. In fact, if you were to ask most people, they'd say, well, you need to have customers, you need to have sales, and you need to grow a team, and you need to have a website. The truth is, I think even before any of those, what you need to have is you need to have accountability and support. I mean that. I know for me, I don't know if you're anything like me, I'm somebody who craves and needs accountability and support. And I want you to think about any other time in your life where you've had a support system, right? Where you've had accountability, like maybe in your job, maybe you have a boss that holds you accountable to your deadlines and what you need to get done. And the reason that accountability works so well, think about that. If you told your boss that you would get something done, even if you totally procrastinated it, you're much more likely to actually get it done because you told your boss you were going to do that, right? You had somebody to hold you accountable. Another example. So have any of you guys ever been in a group before, like a group sport? I played basketball in high school. I was terrible at it. In fact, I was just telling my daughter this story because she's starting basketball about how they switch courts at halftime. And I'd always forget and I'd end up shooting baskets for the wrong team. Anyways, embarrassing moment right there. But think about if you've ever done any kind of group sport or joined a group running team or joined a club to go hiking, something like that. You showed up to practice because you knew you had a coach waiting for you. You knew you had a team waiting for you. You knew you had people that you needed to be accountable for and accountable to. And if you were to just like say, let's keep using basketball for example, if you were to go down to the YMCA and just shoot hoops every single day all by yourself, the likelihood of you actually showing up, I don't know about you, but for me it would be way less than if I had a team and a coach showing up for me that I knew I needed to show up for as well. That's what we're going to talk about today is how do you create an accountability system? For years, I felt like I was in my own little silo over here, that nobody really was like me and that I had all these ideas and I wanted to do all these things, but I didn't know people in my real life who were that same way. And so it felt really lonely. And it also made me feel like I was kind of weird. I still think I'm kind of weird. But what I want you guys to do is really think about, do you have people either in your in-person circle, a family member, a sister, a friend, a neighbor, that you could connect with and work on creating an accountability buddy system? Or if you don't feel like you have that, is there somebody online that you can connect with? In fact, I'll even encourage you guys to leave some comments here on this video if you're looking for somebody to help you be accountable. I know it's kind of weird because it's like strangers on the internet, but I've actually found that some of the people that I've learned from the most that have ended up being like my best allies, I guess you could say, in the online business world are people that I met online. Sometimes we've never even met in person, but we help each other really, really well. And I'm going to ask you to do something that's probably going to make you feel a little bit uncomfortable, and you might be squirming in your seat a little bit when you hear me say this. But seriously, listen to what I'm going to say. I want you to reach out to that person and say, hey, I really wanted to do this thing, but I'm kind of struggling with it because of X, Y, and Z. I'm really trying to get my product launched and online. I'm really trying to consistently eat better or get to the gym or be a better mom or spouse, whatever it is for you that's important. And I want you to ask them and say, hey, would you be willing to hold me accountable? Even blame it on me if you have to. Say, I don't know, I follow this weird Natalie girl and she told me I need to do this and I feel kind of awkward asking, but I really want to do this and I was going to see if you could help me with it. And this is the part that's going to feel a little uncomfortable is step 2 is I want you to reach out to that person and open up and be a little bit vulnerable and share with them some of the reasons why you maybe have struggled in the past getting this done or you're struggling right now, right? Maybe it's because you didn't have a supportive spouse or family member supporting you and helping you in this. Maybe it's because you're like, I'm running a million different directions trying to get my kids to all their activities and a practice and take care of a home and try to run a business and wear all the hats. Maybe it's because you always struggled believing in yourself and having that confidence that you can actually do this. Maybe it's that you direct your attention into other things as a coping mechanism to kind of handle stress and emotions. Or maybe it's like, I really struggle with spreadsheets, so sticking to a budget or this thing or this checklist I have to do, it feels overwhelming to me. And these are just examples that I'm giving, but I think most of us usually, like when we really are honest with ourselves, we know the reasons that we've struggled in the past. And so I'm gonna ask you to be a little bit vulnerable here and share with an accountability buddy, or share in the comments here things that you've maybe struggled with in the past and that have held you back from actually doing the thing that you know in your mind you want to get done. Trust me, the introvert side of me totally gets that this is uncomfortable, and I know this is going to feel uncomfortable for you. And if it's too uncomfortable and you're about ready to shut this video off, don't do that. Even just be accountable to yourself and write it down on a piece of paper. Okay, that's a good baby step into getting to this place where you feel comfortable reaching out, asking for help. But I promise you, if you actually do this, you're gonna thank me later for pushing you right now in this direction. No more hiding. Seriously, I want you to commit to that. No more hiding, because the actions that you put in place now are gonna help you change the patterns that you've always struggled with in the past, so you can recreate those patterns and create the kind of life that I know you wanna live, that I believe is possible for you. And here's the thing, I want to emphasize here, it's okay if you tell your accountability buddy that you're gonna do something and you fail. I'm serious. And that might be opposite of advice of what most of the other big online gurus are gonna tell you. But the purpose of an accountability buddy, it's not to be perfect to that buddy all the time, right? None of us are perfect all the time. The purpose is just to be accountable, right? Just like, let's go back to the basketball analogy. You don't make every single shot. You probably fall on the court, you score a basket for the wrong team, right? You're not always perfect, but you show up, you're accountable. And that's what I really want you to focus on here. And so if you miss something that you say you're gonna do for that day, I don't want you to be like, oh, I can't reach out the next day because I have to tell them that I didn't make it happen. Like, there is no judgment in this process. In fact, what I found is that oftentimes if we start like very honestly sharing our struggles with other people around us, what happens is that it can create a closer sense of community, because all of a sudden you start to realize like, oh my gosh, I'm not the only one that's struggling with this. Like, I'm not alone. I'm not the weird one out there. Like, all of us are in this together. And all of a sudden you start to get that feeling like, oh my gosh, me too. And it creates connection and community. And I found that it gives me more momentum and it helps me move forward the next thing that I want to get done. And this is one of the best ways for you to stay on track, for you to have consistency over time in bringing in revenue to your business. And of course, now, if you're gonna bring in revenue, you have to have a product to sell, right? You have to have a way to sell it online. And those are all the details that we'll be talking about on this channel. But even if you have the best product in the world, even if you have the prettiest website, none of that matters if you're not being consistent, right? And so the key to consistency is having people strategically placed around you in your life that are gonna help keep you accountable. Like, I do this in my own life. In fact, oftentimes I'll even take this a step further and I'll publicly share things on Instagram stories or here on YouTube. And it can feel really scary to say, hey, this is the thing I wanna get done. This is the thing I wanna do. And it can feel really vulnerable, because if you don't get it done, then all of a sudden you're like, everybody's gonna think I'm a loser, or I'm gonna let everybody down, because all of a sudden other people know what you're trying to do. But the one thing that I found is that when we consistently try to put on the shiny armor of perfection and we try to be perfect all the time and act like we always have our you know what together, and that we are always trying to pretend like we have all the answers and that we never screw up, you wanna know what happens? At least for me, it usually leaves us feeling disconnected. But when we're willing to take that mask off, take some of that shiny armor off, right? And be a little bit vulnerable or just real with people, open up to others, what ends up happening is it's the opposite of what we think is gonna happen. We think everybody's gonna make fun of us or judge us. The truth is, more often than not, it's like a magnet. And people are drawn to that. And you end up getting this deep sense of wholeheartedness, of connection, of worthiness, because all of a sudden you don't have this voice in your head that, oh, people only like me because they think I'm perfect all the time. You start to realize like people can like me even when I screw up, right? And it actually makes us feel more connected. And so I want you to start to just lean into this, okay? And it's gonna take some trust, and that might be hard for you. It has been hard for me for years to figure this out. But I want you to lean into other people who are in the arena with you, okay? And you're gonna hear me say that a lot. And I wanna explain that a little bit. So here's what I mean by that when I say in the arena. So a lot of us might feel like, oh, this is gonna be really hard to do, because I was raised and taught to always do everything on our own. That I was taught you never ask for help, you never cry, you never admit that you're screwing up, right? In our family, we wear our Sunday best and we go to church and then we yell at each other in the car home, right? But I'll tell you, that system failed me. And it was one of the saddest, loneliest times of my life, because I felt very, very alone. And in my own head, I felt like I was failing at everything, but nobody knew. And that's when I realized, like, we need connection. We need other people, that humans are wired for connection. And so I'm gonna try to help you figure this out in this video. That's why I'm talking about it today, even if it feels uncomfortable. And this might feel scary to you. Really, it probably is going to. But I found that anything worthwhile usually feels scary. So I have this quote here, and I have this in like 3 places in my house because it resonated with me so deeply. Now, I don't know if any of you guys have heard of Brene Brown before. She's amazing. If you haven't, don't leave this video, but later go look up Brene Brown's TED Talk. She radically changed my life. And in her TED Talk, she talks about this quote, and it's not her quote, it's by President Roosevelt, but it's called The Man in the Arena. And I could probably recite this from memory actually, but it says, it's not the critic who counts. It's not the man, I always say, or woman, who points out how the strong man could stumbled or could have done better. The credit belongs to the person who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by blood and sweat and tears, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows the great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, even if they fail, at least they fail while daring greatly, so that their place shall never be with those cold or timid souls who knew neither victory nor defeat. This quote, like screenshot it, put it on your wallpaper, write it on a post-it note, put it on your wall. Seriously, there's a reason I have it in my house in multiple places because it impacts me every single time I see it. And the reason I think this quote really has helped me so much is because a lot of times I think when you're the one being vulnerable, to you, at least for me, it usually makes me feel small and scared and not enough, but to everybody else around you, it's actually the opposite. It looks brave and courageous. And I think oftentimes the reason that I, in the past, had struggled with having somebody hold me accountable is because I was worried, what were people going to say about me? Was I gonna get criticized? And I found that usually the people that are criticizing you, they're the ones in the peanut gallery anyways, and their opinions don't matter, okay? The ones that actually matter are the people who are in the thick of it with you, who are trying to do hard things, who are also trying things and screwing things up and are learning lessons along the way. Like, those are the people that I listen to. Something that I really, truly believe, every single one of us, you yourself included, we are all born with God-given talents. I believe that, truly do. Like, I'm not that good at that many things. I just had a superpower video where I talked about I don't have that many superpowers. I just think I'm good at connecting with people. But for me, I look back at the last decade of having an online business, and if I would have stayed small and never opened up about the real stuff that was happening, I never would have been able to make the impact that I've been able to make or to serve the people that I've been able to serve. And when you stay small, you not only do yourself a disservice, but you do a disservice to all the people around you who could have benefited from all the God-given gifts and talents that you have to give. And I think especially oftentimes if you're watching this and you're a woman, I think a lot of times women have a tendency to try to take everything on themselves, right? And never ask for help. And I actually think this is like a new thing. I mean, if you look back in the day, like you hear all the stories of how women came together in villages and they had tribes and women would bind together. And that's my hope with sharing this with you guys, is that I want you guys to realize that especially as women, we aren't alone. And it's time to quit playing small and to quit being quiet. So if you're worried about asking somebody to help hold you accountable because you're worried about criticism or you're worried about what other people are gonna say, I'm gonna leave you with a quote that I heard one time that I have never forgotten because it stuck with me. Guess what? They don't make statues out of critics, even though there are so many of them, right? They make statues of the people who are willing to work through the criticism, who are willing to step into that fear, step into something that's uncomfortable, and push through those hard feelings in order to get to the next level. And I just want to remind you, it's not the critics that we listen to, okay? It's the people just like you who are watching these kinds of videos, who are working on growth mindset, who are actively trying to learn and grow their online business, who are working on being better. And so that's my challenge for you guys, okay? I want you to reach out and ask somebody, hey, would you be willing to hold me accountable and just check in with me once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week, whatever that means. And if you're comfortable, share something that you've traditionally struggled with or that you're struggling with right now with them and ask them, hey, can you hold me accountable in this area? It could be 1 thing, it could be 10 things, it could be 20 things, but I want you to learn to start recognizing some of the reasons that maybe you failed or struggled to be consistent in the past. So that way we can figure out how to work through those as we move forward. So I hope that was helpful for you guys. I can't wait to see your comments below. And if you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.